$120,000 To put into that perspective, that's roughly 3 times around the globe, if you prefer about 1/3 of way to the moon. All is done on 2 wheels, powered by magnets, coils and lot of stubbornness. If you had told me 10 years ago that I'd be an e-bike guy, I would laugh in your face. I was purist. I thought e-bikes were cheating, a toy for lazy, a shortcut for people who didn't want to put into the work. But here I am, 4 bikes and 8 years later. And today I'm going to give the raw data. No marketing fluff, no sponsored lies. Just the truth about what happens to the machine and human after 120,000 kilometers on the road. Back in 2017 I was riding 50 years old steel frame. I loved that bike, but it was a battle. Every headwind went like a personal insult.
It's heavy headwind, and on Pavel road I can ride about only maybe 10 kilometers per hour, which is... I don't remember last time when I was driving that slow. That's crazy.
Every hill felt like a wall. I realized that if I wanted to never have to buy a car, I couldn't treat the bike like hobby anymore. I needed to be a tool, a reliable, high-performance logistic machine that would make a car completely unnecessary for my life. I didn't have a big budget, so I spent 450 euros on do-it-yourself kit. It was total leap of faith. I remember staying up late reading old Russian e-bike forums. Back in 2014, those guys were doing incredible 4,500 kilometers cross-country trips through Russia. At the times, e-bikes were just like UFO to most people, totally rare and mysterious. I figured if they could cross a continent on home-built machines, I could surely build a commuter that would last more than a season. Then, in 2018 I saw a headline. 367 kilometers on single charge. A Guinness World Record by Delfast from Ukraine. That was my aha moment. The technology was finally ready for the big league. At the first time I twisted the throttle my own build, the world changed. Within a month I clocked 320 kilometers on a single day. That was the moment I realized my idea of possible had been completely wrong. In the e-bike world there's a constant war, meat drive versus hoop motor. If you go into the high-end bike shop, they try to sell a meat drive. They talk about torque sensing, center of gravity and natural feel, but for machine that needs to ride 120,000 kilometers, meat drives are a liability. Think of meat drive like a Swiss watch, beautiful engineered, but if one tiny gear fails, the whole thing is dead. And because it sends all power through your chain and gears and eats your drivetrain for breakfast. I choose Soviet tractor approach, the direct drive hoop motor. Imagine a hammer. A hammer is simple, it doesn't have moving part, it just works. 120,000 kilometers, my motor has never been a reason I stop. The only thing that wears out are 2 industrial bearings. They cost about 10 euros a pair and I swap them, let's say, every 20,000 kilometers. My motor maintenance costs less than decent lunch. Now, let's talk about only part can actually kill you or burn your house down. Early on, I tried to be frugal. I bought €500 special, but the relative was a scam. I never reached the maximum voltage it was designed for. It would cut out and shut down way before battery was actually empty. I performed a surgery on that back to see that what's wrong, and the truth was terrifying. They were indeed cells from the famous brand, but they were lowest strain, cheapest tier, totally unfit for an e-bike. In fact, I had strong suspicion they might have been outright fakes. It was a literal bomb sitting in my hallway. I didn't even want that thing in my house. My next battery cost €700 from professional builder and had been running for 8 years. How did I make it last that long? The 80% rule. Think your battery like a rubber band. If you stretch it to absolute limit every single day, eventually it snaps. But if you stop at 80 or 90%, the tension drops and the lifespan triples. It's a difference between 500 charge cycles and 1500. When you are commuting in heavy traffic every day, the small things become big things. A €10 tire is a guaranteed flat every month. I run Swabble Marathon Plus. They are heavy, they are stiff, but they are as close to bulletproof as you can get. It's an investment in my sanity. And then there's a gear. I've hit the asphalt hard. It happens fast. I had massive headache in the next day, but helmet saved me from something much worse. It didn't break apart, but it did its job and took a blow, so my school didn't have to vary every single dime. Assume you are invisible to a driver distracted by a smartphone. You aren't a person, you're a glitch in the corner of their eye. I ride defensively, I wear a high-vis vest, and I never assume we have a right of the way, even when I do. Let's talk about why it was worth the effort. I'll spend about €10,000 in 8 years. But let's be real, that €10,000 wasn't strictly necessary for commuting. About half of that went into the Sunday bikes, experimental builds, high performance toys. It was price of my education. If you are looking for a bulletproof way to get to work, you can do it for half of that price. €5,000 over 8 years is more than enough to build a machine that outlasts any car. I hauled furniture, massive boxes and heavy building materials on these bikes. The 90% of what people use one car for, a well-built e-bike is more than enough. I never owned a car, and looking at those numbers, I never will. Driving a car is like a luxury subscription to an oil company that you can never cancel. I kept about €170 in my pocket every single month that would otherwise be gone. That's a rent money, that's a grocery money, that's a freedom. These bikes forced me to grow. I had learned how to solder, how to work with the fiberglass, how to design parts in 3D software. 120,000 kilometers. I ridden through blizzards where the snow was incredibly deep. I've ridden through heat waves that melted the asphalt. I've been seeing the sunrise over the woods more than I count. Traffic jams don't exist for me. Gas prices are just numbers on a sign that don't affect my life. I choose a heart made of magnets and coils. I choose simplicity. I didn't just choose a bike, I choose a way to live. I can tell you this. These machines didn't just carry me from A to B, they built me. See you on the road. Peace. Thank you for watching, and I see you in the next episode. Bye.